John Doe was the epitome of a community leader, revered by many for his unwavering dedication to social justice and equality. As the founder of Empowerment Now, a non-profit organization aimed at providing education and economic opportunities to underserved communities, he had built a reputation that commanded respect and admiration. But beneath the surface of his philanthropic facade lay a web of deceit so intricate, it would leave many questioning everything they thought they knew about this beloved leader. As investigators began to dig into the financial records of Empowerment Now, they uncovered a disturbing pattern of embezzlement on an unprecedented scale. Over the course of 3 years, John Doe had siphoned off over $2 million from the organization's coffers, using it to fund a lavish lifestyle that included multiple mansions, private jets, and exotic vacations. The audacity of his scheme was staggering, with some estimates suggesting he may have even used Empowerment Now funds to finance his own personal business ventures. The most shocking revelation, however, came when investigators discovered that John Doe had been using Empowerment Now as a front to launder money for several high-profile politicians and corporate executives. The implications were far-reaching, threatening to bring down not only the reputation of Empowerment Now but also the careers of those who had partnered with Doe on these illicit ventures. As the investigation continued to unravel the threads of deceit, one thing became clear: John Doe's double life was a carefully constructed illusion, designed to conceal his true intentions and mask the extent of his financial crimes. As the investigation unfolded, a complex web of deceit began to unravel. It started with whispers of suspicious financial transactions, but soon escalated into a comprehensive review of John Doe's activities. Auditors discovered that over $200,000 had been siphoned from the community center's funds between 2018 and 2020, while John publicly proclaimed his dedication to supporting local initiatives. One key piece of evidence came in the form of receipts for luxury vacations, including a stay at a high-end resort in Hawaii and a private villa rental in Italy. These trips not only raised eyebrows but also led investigators to suspect that John had been using non-profit funds to finance his personal indulgences. Further analysis revealed a pattern of lavish spending, with receipts totaling over $150,000 in just 2 years. Moreover, interviews with former employees disclosed disturbing patterns of manipulation and intimidation. One staff member described being forced to falsify financial records to conceal the missing funds, while another spoke of being coerced into making unauthorized purchases on behalf of John. These testimonies corroborated claims of a toxic work environment, where dissent was met with silence or swift dismissal. John's social media presence also came under scrutiny, revealing a stark contrast between his public persona and private actions. Photos posted to Instagram showed him rubbing shoulders with prominent local leaders, while quietly accumulating a collection of high-end watches and designer clothing. Investigators discovered that these acquisitions alone had cost the nonprofit over $50,000 in donations from its own funds. As investigators dug deeper, they found evidence of a carefully crafted facade, designed to conceal John's true intentions. The more they uncovered, the clearer it became: this beloved community leader was leading a life of deception and excess, all while exploiting the trust placed in him by his constituents. As we delve deeper into the intricate web of deceit spun by John Doe, it becomes increasingly clear that his actions had far-reaching consequences that affected not only his organization but also the very community he claimed to serve. The staggering amounts embezzled from the nonprofit, a total of $250,000 over the course of 3 years, could have been used to provide crucial resources and support to countless individuals in need. The investigation revealed that Doe's lavish lifestyle was not just a matter of personal excess, but also a calculated attempt to cover his tracks. He had set up shell companies and offshore accounts to conceal the flow of funds, making it nearly impossible for anyone to detect the discrepancies. The sheer audacity of his scheme is all the more stunning considering the fact that Doe's organization, the Community Empowerment Initiative, was supposed to be a beacon of transparency and accountability in the community. But what does this case tell us about the nature of power and corruption? How could someone who had built such a reputation as a champion of social justice so callously betray the trust placed in him? One possible answer lies in the psychological phenomenon known as moral disengagement. According to psychologist Albert Bandura, moral disengagement occurs when individuals rationalize or justify their own immoral behavior by separating it from their sense of self. In Doe's case, his actions were facilitated by a sense of entitlement and a distorted view of his own role in the community. He had convinced himself that he was above the law, that his contributions to the community outweighed any personal transgressions. But as we've seen, this was nothing short of a catastrophic illusion. The implications of Doe's case extend far beyond the confines of his organization or even the community itself. It raises questions about the accountability of those in positions of power and the mechanisms put in place to prevent such abuses of trust from occurring. Can we truly say that our systems are adequate to detect and prevent corruption, or do they often rely on the goodwill and integrity of individuals like John Doe? As the investigation continued to unravel, a shocking pattern began to emerge. It started with small discrepancies in financial reports, minor discrepancies that could be easily brushed off as clerical errors. But as investigators dug deeper, they discovered a trail of deceit that went all the way to the top. One key witness, Sarah Johnson, came forward claiming she had stumbled upon a suspicious transaction on her computer. Further investigation revealed that over $200,000 in nonprofit funds had been secretly diverted into John Doe's personal bank account. The date of the transfer was February 10, 2020, during a time when the community was struggling to make ends meet. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered a network of shell companies and offshore accounts set up by John Doe to launder his stolen funds. There were 3 separate entities: Green Earth Enterprises, Social Impact Partners, and Empowerment Solutions. Each company had a distinct purpose, but all shared the same common denominator: John Doe's control. Further analysis revealed that over 70% of the nonprofit's budget was being allocated to operational costs, a vague category that allowed John Doe to siphon off millions in cash. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. While the community struggled with poverty and inequality, their leader was living it up in style. Rumors began circulating within the community about potential wrongdoing, but no one suspected the extent of the deceit. Local media started sniffing around, sensing a story brewing beneath the surface. With each passing day, John Doe's carefully constructed facade crumbled further, exposing the rot at the heart of his leadership. As we peel back the layers of deceit surrounding John Doe's double life, it becomes clear that his actions were not only morally reprehensible but also had a ripple effect on the very community he claimed to serve. The non-profit organization he founded, which initially brought hope and aid to countless individuals, ultimately became a vehicle for his own personal enrichment. According to financial records, John Doe embezzled over $500,000 from the organization's coffers between 2018 and 2022. This staggering figure is not just a number, it represents the tangible harm inflicted on those who genuinely relied on the nonprofit's services. Families were left without access to essential resources, while community programs suffered due to lack of funding. As investigations unfolded, it became apparent that John Doe's embezzlement was merely one aspect of his larger scheme. His lavish lifestyle, which included multiple mansions and high-end cars, was funded in part by the diverted funds. The image of this self-proclaimed champion of social justice living a life of opulence is nothing short of staggering. The fallout from John Doe's actions has been immense. Several employees who spoke out against his behavior faced retaliation, including termination and smear campaigns. Meanwhile, the community he claimed to serve remains in disarray, left to pick up the pieces after being betrayed by someone they trusted. As we confront the consequences of John Doe's double life, it raises fundamental questions about accountability, integrity, and leadership. How could someone who had such a profound impact on their community hide behind such a facade? What drove them to engage in such brazen deception? In the wake of this exposé, it is crucial that we recognize the severity of John Doe's actions. We must acknowledge the harm caused and work towards preventing similar betrayals of trust from occurring in the future. By doing so, we can create a more transparent and accountable society where those who abuse power are held accountable for their actions.